Okay, ladies and gentlemen, are we okay to start? Colin's asked if you could say a few words before we start the public session. Can I remind all members to use the microphone when they're speaking, otherwise it doesn't appear on the recording.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would like to propose that the public session is deferred to the end of the meeting because we have a packed agenda and there are guest speakers waiting to talk to us.
Councillors? Seconded? Any comments? We have to open the meeting in order to do this, though. So in order to... Are you going to add something? So what I'll do is I will open the meeting and Colin, can you put your proposal on the table?
Sorry?
I've just opened the meeting. So can you put your proposal on the table?
Thank you. My proposal is that the public meeting is deferred to the end of the council meeting because we have a packed agenda and there are guest speakers waiting to talk to us.
So that Colin's proposing that we take the guest speakers and that we leave the questions section of the public session to the end of the meeting. Miles, are you happy to say that?
Yeah.
Councillor Thornton and Councillor Sadler.
Say that is not beneficial to members of the public, having to sit through all the stuff they don't want to listen to in order to speak. It is their right to speak at the beginning.
No, it isn't. It's by invitation only.
And at the end also.
Councillor Thornton.
There isn't a right.
If that issue is agreed, how are we going to work it? Because
Switch on.
we've got confidential matters to discuss probably later, so it needs to be at the end of the meeting before the confidential session.
Well, that could be 9:30.
The public don't have a right, do they? It's by invitation.
Further comments? Okay, ladies and gentlemen, are you happy to proceed to the vote?
Yep.
Could we have a record of vote on that, please?
Of course.
Agenda's set, is it?
The agenda and we should stick to it. That's a disgraceful way to treat members of the public.
Just pass that down to John, because he won't hear it last.
So the proposal is to have public questions at the end of the council meeting due to the very full agenda.
How do you vote? Councillor Bensley?
I'm against.
Councillor Bowers?
For.
Councillor Graham? For. Councillor Ireland?
Against.
Councillor Ireland? JC?
Against.
Councillor Jackson?
For.
Councillor Matthews?
Against.
Councillor Sadler?
Against.
Councillor Manship?
For.
Councillor Smith is not present. Councillor Tarney?
Abstain.
Councillor Torn?
For.
Councillor Thornton?
Reluctantly, I'm going to vote for.
Can't say what you said, Stuart.
I said reluctantly, I'm going to vote for 4. Don't make threats at me because in a meeting it's not becoming. What you're doing, Christine, is in effect is you're trying to influence my decision. My decision's my decision.
Sorry.
Right. Point of order. Can we just get a whip motor? Let's get on, shall we?
Thank you very much.
Every decision noise. Come on.
So we just talked that up, and it's 6 to 5, so that means actually carried. So what we'll do is we'll go into the we will go into part of the public session where we have some guest speakers, but we'll save questions for the end. Okay. So we've got some short presentations. We've actually got one guest speaker who's likely to be a little bit late this morning. Can I just invite either Mr. or Mrs. Clegg just to address the council for a second? I know they have a question that they want to raise, a statement they want to provide.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
These are guest speakers, so we have 3 guest speakers. Fire away.
Thank you. My name is David Clegg. I live at 35 Crowgate. This is my wife Anne. We moved in about 12 months, about 2 years ago. Just over 2 years ago. At that time, the playing field next to our house was used as a playing field. The car park was used as a car park. Over the last year, really, the car park's become used as a meeting place in the evening, starting probably about now, and we can get anything up to 10 cars with youths in playing music, dropping litter, filling up the dog litter container, and generally making a nuisance of themselves. We've reported it to the police on a number of occasions, and they occasionally pop round, but we're still getting the problem. It can be anything from 2 to 10 cars. 2 cars we can cope with, 10 cars we can't, because frankly it's extraordinarily noisy, very disruptive. On occasions we've had members from the cars, people from the cars, urinating against the building that's in there, in full view of our living room window, which is not pleasant. And I'm talking males and females. So what we're suggesting is the car park is locked at night to prevent cars coming in. During the day it isn't a problem. We don't have a problem with cars in there during the day, apart from residents and people using it legitimately. But in the evenings it is a nuisance, and I'm requesting that we have the facility to lock the car park from early evening to stop the rowdy residents and non-residents coming and parking there and doing what they're doing.
Thank you very much. So what we'll do is we don't enter into a dialogue at this point, but there is an item on the agenda actually, and as we reach that on the agenda, we will come to that. Mr. Coates, who was the next speaker, is going to be a little bit late, so we'll get to him as we get to it. I wasn't informed before the meeting. Mr. Odiemi, is it a question or is it a guest speech?
A bit of all.
Would you mind if we held it over to this, because we've deferred questions to later on in the meeting? We'll get to them later on.
It is time sensitive, because
we'll make sure
they want to hold is literally weeks. He's been trying to get it through the office with no success, so he's had to resort to coming tonight.
Clarification from the clerk is that it was asked for in writing but hasn't been received. So I think that's more of a question than a presentation. So we'll do that, and Mr. Coates isn't here. So what we'll do is number 1 on the agenda, to receive apologies for absence.
Excuse me. Can the gentleman put his case as a guest speaker, please? Can he explain to the council what he wants to do on behalf of the community?
Councillors, bearing in mind you've just voted to move questions to the end, do you want to have another guest speaker? Opposed? Any dissenting voices? Okay, fire away.
We're hoping that all the open day area on Kendall Park for youth development and social isolation within the old people in the community. We've got RNC involved and Councillor Island as well. What we're trying to do is get the park so we can push through to get the risk assessments on the insurance. Everything's in place. We just need okay from the Parish Council to use the land. We previously got okay for Muck Hill, I think that's what it's called. But due to the slant of the slope, we realised that there's a lot of health and safety risks attached to it. due to the fact that we've got big boundary castles and things like that, we're hoping that we could get an okay from the parish council to move forward. And hopefully the parish council could get involved and do a bit of consultancy as well and a bit of surgery to that's what the actual really want on a whole.
Thank you very much. Okay. Item 1.
Could I just raise a question? Yes. Sorry, which area I missed that? What area you have been using?
Whitegate.
Whitegate.
Yeah, sorry. Whitegate, yeah.
The Whitegates.
Whitegate.
What help can we offer in terms of risk assessment and insurance?
Actually, do have that.
So what help can we offer in terms of risk assessment and insurance?
John. Well, it wasn't there.
Sorry.
Sorry? Councillor Sadler?
Carry on.
Can you just say that again, John? Risk assessment, etc. Is that what it sounds like you wanted?
No.
Can I actually ask what you are intending to do? You said a surgery, from what I understand. Sorry, can I just finish? What does this involve? A surgery can be lots of things. Could you actually give us more details?
It's an open day, so we can ask the community what they like to use that community centre, and also we can introduce youth development, social enterprise, and move the community forward as a whole, and kind of put a bit screw it back into the village.
So you actually want to use Kendall Park as a surgery for another project? Yes, that's what I need to clarify. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So going back to John's question.
Is there any way, Chair, is there any way that we can assist this gentleman with an answer tonight? All he needs to know is, can he use the park? They have all the insurance and details that they need in place with our NBC.
The answer to that is obviously no, because it's not on the agenda for discussion.
So is there any way that he can have permission?
Can members of the public please stop interrupting? There's a statutory process for decision making. Councillor Thornton, Councillor Island.
Right, there's obviously a bit of confusion going on. I've spoken to Earl outside just before we came in. I think there's two different subjects that he's wishing us to look at. Because there's confusion, Earl, can I just ask that if you write to the council tomorrow, just saying what you want, that what use you want, etc., etc. That way we can start some form of official correspondence and hopefully get it onto the next meeting to get things moved forward and get done.
The next meeting is too late, Stuart. It's the school holiday.
No, you need to email tomorrow. You need to email tomorrow. I understand the timings, Christine.
Well,
I've just been speaking, but I'm saying we need to start the process.
Do you mind if I
the
just
point
come in,
is
John?
it's going to be too late.
Can I just come in before you speak? So in the past, I think we've asked Mr. Odiemi to contact the office to write to the office. So the clerk says that she's already spoken to you and you've discussed it over the phone. She's requested, in order for it to come to a meeting, it just needs to go into writing. If you could drop her an email with a request. Can I go to? I don't want to get into.
The meeting is too late.
To Councillor Island.
Goodness.
Well, this is quite important thing. In the last meeting, we made a resolution to give the clerk and the senior administrator delegated powers to take bookings for use of parish land, which was 047/17. So it doesn't need to come to a council meeting to decide. The clerk can use the delegated powers to.
Can I just say we didn't make that decision.
The decision was to approve the role of the clerk and senior administrator in future events bookings on parish land.
Yes, we did.
It was pertaining to Ratford Meadow.
Can you allow Councillor Island to speak, please?
It doesn't need to come to a council meeting. The clerk can discuss that With a negative decision. Through a delegated power.
What effectively going to have a length? Only 2 roads,
True. We just need to put it in writing. He knows it.
That other one refers to back and
Just to clarify from there, so as a result of that resolution 04717, then if the clerk's given a little bit more information, so she needs to know whether it's a large event, a small event, whether there are any cost implications for the council or anything like that. If you pop that in writing and she feels that it's within a delegation...
He's doing it now.
Then she can authorise it.
Alright, we can't a right decision.
Would we?
Yeah, we can work without that.
We're working on that. Okay, well, Councillor Jackson.
Can I just add, the decision we made regarding the clerk and the senior administrator was an item relating to Rackford Meadows, not in general, one specific area of land. My concern...
Specific.
Councillor Sadler.
What?
Can you let Clive speak, please?
What concerns me is the fact that Whitegates, or the part there, is only approached by 2 roads, 2 accesses. Now you've got to think about the residents on those. They're both cul-de-sacs. If you're having a lot of traffic there and people turning up, you cannot just go ahead with something and the residents not know about it. Because I'll tell you something, they'll not be overly happy if lots of cars start. I used to live on Kendall Avenue and it's a nightmare around there. There's no room for parking, so you've got to put all sort of things like that in, because we don't want people coming back blaming the parish council for something that's gone off and they weren't informed about it in the first place. Oh.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, end the discussion here.
Not having this.
You're ignoring me, Drew. I stuck my hand up. I would like to reply to Councillor Jepson that most of these people would be coming from the Capons Road area and they will walk.
Thank you. Thank you, John. Item 1, apologies for absence. No apologies received. Nothing from the station. Okay. Thank you very much. Item 2, members of DPI personal interest in the item to be discussed. Jonathan.
Right, they're all finished planning, so that's not one. There's 9.8, which is to do with anti-Tuesday group chairman. Maybe 9.9.
Hilary, please don't interrupt the meeting. This is item 2, DPI personal interest. Thank you.
Right, can carry on. Maybe 9.9, but I'm not sure. There's no other details about discussed tree planting on Rackford Meadows, whether it's huge tree planting or tree replanting.
I would declare a personal interest if I were
you.
No, I think any more information, because I can't really declare interest, so I'm not sure what tree planting is talking about.
Take that as we get to it then.
I'll take it as an interest. Then there's 9.11, which is to do with school crossing patrols, which could be a Borough Council side of that.
So you happen.
Any other stuff?
10.1 as well, it's mine. And that's it.
Right, thank you. Crossings.
I'll declare 9.17.
And
9.17. Personal declaration.
9.11.
And can we 9.11?
I think you're right what you put in your email.
Councillor Thornton?
917 should go with it.
917. Okay. Thank you very much. Item 3, to identify items which the press and public may be excluded. There are a few. Does anybody want to?
I've got a list of them made right. You suggested 9.1. Just have a quick look. 9.1. Right, I'm proposing that 9.1 goes into confidential session because it may, it's due to the confidentiality of public contracts. Suggesting 9.2 goes into confidential session, but I'll defer to Colin. 9.1. 9.2 if Colin thinks it requires it, yeah, because he's on about tender documents. 9.3, because that may involve contracts. I'm also looking at 9.29, because that involves finance and contracts.
Hillary, please.
9.29 for the fourth time. 9.29. And 10.2 and 10.3.
Any others for confidential? Are we happy to vote on those as we get to them, or do you want us to vote on them?
Chair, I was going to stand a point of order. Right, we're following a process which is a legal process. And every time I speak in these meetings, either Mr Pearson or Mr Kavanagh are always making comments.
Members of the public, we have a member stood an point of order. He'll be heard.
My point is this.
You don't have the right, you're a member of the public.
What number is the point of order?
Stuart. Right. Every time I stand...
Point of order?
Stuart. Right. Every time I try to speak, and I think I've just proved it quite easily. Now, every time that I speak, I'm being interrupted, and therefore, if Mr Kavanagh or Mr Pearson continue to harass and stalk me, I'm going to ask you to ask them to leave the meeting. I think I'm justified in what I'm saying by the very fact of what their actions are doing now. Thank you.
I'd like to have a point of order here now.
Procedurally, you can't.
Can you ask Councillor Thornton what a function he's got with my vehicle because you look
I'm sorry, you have no right to speak. We're moving on. Members of the public, I will ask you to leave if you're not able to sit quietly and listen to discussion. Councillors, I will ask you to direct, there's a standing order that relates to it, I will ask you to direct anything that you say to other councillors through the chair. Please don't get involved in discussions with members of the public in the public gallery. Thank you.
I'm asking for the standing order and what you standing on.
Miles. Thank you very much. Christine!
Excuse me.
Can you take your seat,
I'm
please?
trying to look after a member of the public, which this council fairly listened.
Christine, please take your seat. Miles.
Microphone now.
We've got a request there to move 10.4 to after the statutory items.
Can I just say, I mean, I understand why you're doing it, Miles, but I think we've got far more important things to discuss further down the meeting. I mean, we have stuff on here that's been outstanding now for 3 months.
Excuse
Whether
me.
we discuss it now or
Christine?
later won't make any difference, because we will make a decision of some sort tonight, and possibly the people who are probably wanting an answer on that will probably get some form of written answer. I understand, but I don't agree with you. We've got far more important things that need sorting first.
Excuse me, Chair.
That is basically what's happening here. Thank you very much. This is a filibustering process to make sure that we don't get through items on the agenda. We have a proposal on the table. Miles, can you state your proposal? If it's seconded, we'll act on it.
Am I allowed to give my point of view?
There's a proposal on the table, then each councillor.
Thank you.
I'd like to bring item 10.4 in regards to the chain fence at Crowgate to the top of the agenda after the statutory items.
Thank you very much. Does that have a second? Thank you. Comments from councillors, please keep it brief. Stuart?
It's already mentioned it.
Microphone, please.
Okay, thank you. All those in favour of that proposal?
Am Am I allowed to speak or not?
Fire away.
Thank you. I've stuck my hand up for a quarter of an hour.
Well, you said yes, go ahead.
Yeah, eventually, because I'd insisted. I don't like being ignored by the chair, which happens too often. Right, these people, Mr. and Mrs. Clegg, are the ones suffering, not the people round this table. It will not kill anybody to bring it to the top of the agenda and try to help members of the public who we are supposed to serve.
I don't think anybody has said they don't want it to happen yet. Let's have a vote.
Let's get to the table then.
I'm answering Stuart.
Right, so that's a point of order. What I'm going to ask, Chair, is there's lots of shouting going on the table and off the table from members of the public. It's descending into chaos. Can I ask that if it carries on, that we suspend the meeting for 5 minutes in order for everybody to reflect and restart from the beginning and follow the rules. I think that's the best way to move forward at the moment.
So, the proposal's on the table. Seconded. All those in favour of bringing that item after the statutory part of the agenda? Against? Okay, thank you. So that will come after the statutory item. On to the statutory item. Item 4. To confirm minutes of the Parish Council meeting held on Monday the 19th of June 2017. Anything on page 1? Mike?
44217. It actually should read that the Parish Council were going to write a letter of complaint to RMBC regarding the process for the Harry Croft Quarry planning application. I'm still going to do that, but I just want to make it certain that it actually is a letter of complaint to RMBC about the way it was handled.
Can you just say
Because it doesn't actually say that.
Could you just tell me that it was refused?
No, I thought I said last time.
Okay, thank you very much.
What was that? 4217, Council.
It was, under RBC. Yeah.
That not to work. Right, got it.
Yeah, let's
1539.
Just to amend that to say let's page 2. Diane and then Mark. I think Diane, you were slightly quicker.
Regarding Testo Express, it wasn't a planning board hearing, it was a licensing board hearing, which we actually attended, and we are still waiting for the results, which should have been here either on Friday or at the latest today, and we have not got them.
So to amend the minutes to licensing.
It's licensing and not planning, but dare I say, the planning application is actually going in at the end of this month.
No, it's not.
Oh, it's not, it's been changed?
Not yet.
Okay,
No
thank you.
decision made.
Can we just clarify 4717? Because some councillors seem to think it's just for Rackford Meadows, however some of us seem to think it's all land in the parish.
The proposal was for all.
That's fine, thank you, just for clarification.
Anything on page 3?
No, I've got some on page 2.
Page 6?
Trying to work through it. Right. Item 04517. There's lots of resolved on there. Resolved that we did several things, and I don't believe we voted on half that lot. We didn't vote on the asset management and bonfire night working groups coming together. We didn't vote on the budget and finance committee to remain the same. We didn't vote on the burial ground working group to remain the same for the time being, and the reason I know we didn't, because it's not a council committee, that's a community group. Therefore, we can't resolve to do anything with it. And I don't think we resolved the staffing committee is to remain open to all councillors. We discussed it, but we never resolved it.
Chair, if it wasn't resolved, it has to stay as it is. That means everybody knows.
Right, no, you've missed what I've said, John. The point I'm making is, when it says resolved, it implies that we've passed a resolution and voted. And what I'm saying is, we didn't pass any resolution, and we didn't do any voting. So therefore, it doesn't have to stay.
Claire, Hannah, will you free to go back to me, please? If you can, thank you very much indeed. Then we'll get it in off the clerk then we can just, resolve this issue.
John, if you want to then.
Sorry, councillors.
Does anybody else remember voting? Because I don't.
Yes, proposed asset management facilities working group and bonfire nights to be tied together with working groups to become under the same umbrella, asset management, and noted in the margin.
We did because
Right. So that was what, the grants committee?
Sorted.
Grants and Parts and Finance Committee meets twice a year to discuss allocated grants.
And you're saying we voted on that? Right, so what about the second one, the asset management and the bonfire, the asset management facilities?
As we've just said.
And you're saying quite clearly that we voted on that?
They were all under the same
yeah,
item.
we did.
At this present, let me speak, at this present moment in time, I'll have to take your word for it, I will check.
Thank you. Please speak. Steve.
The Open Spaces Committee,
Which one's it in reference to, Christine?
it says 4517,
All right, sorry.
second from the bottom.
Sorry, yeah.
Is that, are the minutes correct? I was under the impression, and I've spoken to other councillors who were also under the impression that the open spaces was to become part of the council.
Yes, that's
If we can't resolve it, we'll have to look at the film.
So that's so it's basically just this. Yeah. So a proposal was made to that effect, but it wasn't seconded, so it fell.
Right,
Right,
so can I just come in for a second? Can I just come in for a second?
go on.
Right. So, I've just asked the question, and I've made statements that we didn't vote on certain items. And on the issue of the staffing committee, etc., which Chris had just mentioned, you quite clearly said it was proposed and it wasn't voted on, therefore it fell.
So
Yet in the minute, just let me finish. Let me just finish, and you can have your say through. But here it says resolved. So it either was resolved by vote or it wasn't resolved by vote.
Can I go back?
No, I want to make a point of correction from the clerk's notes here.
Okay.
You're talking about the Open Spaces Committee. A proposal was put that it comes back to full council. That wasn't seconded, so it falls. The Open Spaces Committee remains as it is for the time being. And then we have Staffing Committee, again, as is, no proposal made, so it would be open to all as we are.
Right.
Right, could I record, please, that I will be looking at the film, because that is not my recollection. Can you record that, please? Is that going on record? Thank you.
Suppose we accept them as they are.
Suppose we accept them. Second. Thank you. All those in favour of accepting those minutes?
Can I just have one quick question before we accept the minutes? Just on the same, on 04617, it says approved, so now we're changing from resolved to approved. The request for contents insurance was accepted in principle. However, the email from the Anston Burial Ground does not... 04617. I'm making the point that we've now changed from resolved to approved, but the question I want to ask is, the request for contents insurance was accepted in principle, however the email from the Burial Ground Group does not specify the amount. So the question I'm trying to ask is, was that resolved in the sense that we agreed it? No. Yeah, sorry.
Can we clear this one up once and for all, please? The Friends of Anston Burial Ground have not asked for insurance for the tools. They've asked for insurance for public liability, £115.50. That was their first request. We have still not agreed to that request because it was deferred from meetings in April and May. So they're still waiting for a decision from us for £115.50. The tools, they said they'll cross their fingers and store them in the shed or whatever, and that's got to come up later on this agenda. So it's nothing to do with insurance for tools.
I'm very sorry, you can have to wait till the end. I know you're trying to put a point in, but if we enter into a discussion here, it can degenerate.
So, can I just make sure I've got that right, that the minutes are wrong?
Chair, this is why we've got...
I don't think it's amusing.
30 things not dealt with. 30 things here, we've been going 40 minutes.
Excuse me, things have not been dealt with in the past and they've not been recorded as not dealt with.
Because you do too much wrong.
They need to be right.
I agree. Unfortunately, the standing orders give councillors the right to speak unless we decide that those councillors will be no longer heard. Councillor Paul?
We just voted for it, was that carried?
We did. We voted it was carried.
Is that carried? Right, so then
move on.
Exactly.
Yep. Yep.
I'll sign the message. Item 6, we don't have any. Item 7, we now do. We have list 28, which does
Sorry, I've been interrupted.
Yes.
Right, are we accepting the minutes of the...
You nodded and smiled.
No, we accepted the minutes on the 19th of June.
There's none on the agenda.
No, but I've got a copy here, which are 2 months old.
Ladies and gentlemen, are you happy to, it's not on the agenda, but are you happy to approve the minutes of the meeting on May?
I propose.
Can I ask why the minutes are 2 months old?
Are they correct? It's the correction. That's just approved subject to. So it's just for me to sign, not for approval, because they were approved subject.
Yes.
Okay, thank you, Stuart. Councillor Sadler, please take your seat.
Point of order, Chairman. Point of order. If there's something going on, we all need to know about it, not just the one councillor, because it just seems to be singling out one compared to everybody else.
I can tell you what it is if you like.
Can we move on, please?
Yeah, move on, Chair.
List 28. Any comments on that application? All right, thank you. We've noted. Any comments on that planning list? Yeah, fine.
We've got a set of comments from the annual parish council.
This is the gentleman, I'm sorry.
Councillor Sadler, please. While Clive collects his thoughts.
What we're discussing?
Well, we're discussing the planning list. While Clive collects his thoughts.
Thank you.
And Jonathan.
Very interesting figure.
Okay.
There aren't any.
Interesting.
Don't know why there aren't any items.
Well, Clive, there is one that came in.
Oh, right. Well, I've seen it anyway.
It's going round with one item that came in today, list 28.
It's officer decision anyway, then. Yeah, it's only
Can I
about
propose
two
that-
barracks.
While you're just looking at those, members, there's only so much that the clerk and I can do, because we're going through and we're checking minutes and things like that. It's up to you guys to propose, the procedural motions to move us on to the next item, or to move to the vote. It's in your hands.
Chair, can you ask the public to shut up because we can't hear what
Members of
you're
the
saying?
public, can you please not speak at this point? Councillor Sadler, can you please take
down.
your seat?
Oh, I can't
Members, there are options open to you to deal with this.
Yeah.
I mean, the standing orders so that no member should persistently disregard the ruling of the chairman, willfully interrupt business, behave irregularly, offensively, improperly, or in such a manner as to scandalise the council, or blatantly disrepute, contempt, or ridicule. I'm suggesting, Councillor Sadler, that you please don't
do it again.
do that again.
Do what?
Yeah, can I propose that we accept item 7 as there's nothing contentious for the council?
Second.
Yeah, I was asking, what the question I was going to ask was about we've got a set of minutes from the annual parish meeting and comments, but I don't understand why we've been why we've been sent them. But I can't remember actually looking through these at the last.
We haven't.
We haven't, and they should go to the parish meeting next year, not to the council meeting.
They can be sent to the parish council just to receive.
But there are a load of inaccuracies in those notes.
Them notes
that
are way off.
Totally incorrect. Do we have to wait till next year to do that?
I don't know.
Because it refers to councillors all the way through.
Chair, can I propose that we leave this to you to sort out what needs discussing by us and what doesn't need discussing by us and put it on the agenda?
Thank you, I'll do that.
There's lots of dribble in it.
Councillor made a proposal, did you accept that? Secondary. Has it gone past, has it passed, has it?
Are you happy?
Yeah, right, okay.
Okay, Clyde, do you want to say anything about list 28?
No, it's only officer decision, names and
All I was
plans
going to
officer
say is,
decision.
there's only one item on list 28, and it's to prune or fell a tree with 6 weeks' notice of intent. It's in a conservation area, 2 Hillcrest Drive. I would suggest to council we leave this to the arboriculturist at Rotherham. They do vet every application, and I'm quite sure we've been in the conservation area also be doubly vetted.
Okay, thank you very much. David's plans, proposed and seconded. All those in favour? Thank you. We haven't, fortunately, any grants of area or anything to authorise, so that brings us to the end of those statutory items. We do have a guest speaker, and then we'll do 10-4. Mr. Coates, feel free, fire away.
Christine.
Do you want to
Introduce.
No, it won't go on the recording.
So can I introduce Mr. Lewis Coates from Rotherham?
Afternoon. Firstly, my apologies for being late. I was caught up in a meeting in Rotherham. But I've been asked to come along today just to have a chat about what the council is doing around some key areas of enforcement. I'm currently the head of regulation and enforcement for Rotherham Council, and one of the things we've focused on for the last few months is actually getting into place a strengthened enforcement approach to littering, fly tipping, dog fouling and that sort of thing. We entered into a pilot arrangement with a company called Kingdom back end of April this year. That company is charged with actually patrolling the whole of the borough and issuing fixed penalty fines for dog fouling and littering. So far, they have issued something approaching 1,800 fines across the borough. A good number of those are in the town centre, as you might expect, because of the footfall. But about 40% of them are outside of the town centre. We've got some key areas around places like Parkgate and Wath, where there's huge numbers of people shopping, where we get a lot of fines issued. But there are also areas around Dinnington and Anston and Kiverton where we're also getting fines issued. That doesn't quite give you the full picture. For example, in Anston, there's only one person that's been issued a ticket since April. Although my officers have issued about 6, Kingdom have only issued 1. That doesn't give you the full picture, because at least 3 times a week, officers are out in Anston. They follow a corridor from Anston, Dinnington, up to Thurcroft and back into the town centre when they're doing their patrols and issuing tickets. One thing they've just started with this week is parking enforcement as well. So they're issuing parking tickets for double yellow line contraventions and other parking issues, and so far this week they've issued something like 78 parking tickets. They've only done the north this week, and next week they'll be coming south, and they'll start doing in Dinnington and Anston and Kiverton. So I know parking issues have been raised previously. I've been to some parish council meetings where parking issues are really at the forefront of complaints that members of the public have and that parish councillors might have. these are getting addressed in the south of the borough this week. That will be an ongoing programme as well, so the littering, the dog fouling, the fly tipping, the parking enforcement will continue. We're looking to review the success of the scheme round about October time to see if there's any merit in going forward with the scheme. Gut reaction at the moment is it's been so successful that I think we will look at proposals to keep it going ad infinitum, year on year. Whatever shape that takes, I'm not sure. But it has enhanced the council's enforcement role no end. Public have been quite positive about the initiative, although we have had some complaints. We've had about 20 complaints from members of the public, generally people who have been issued with tickets. But generally speaking, most people tend to be in favour of the approach that the council is taking. And that's really it from me. Is there any questions?
Lewis, what route in Aston do your people take?
Tell me.
Do they have a set route?
They do have a set route. It's along the main drag.
Yeah, Nursery Road.
Yeah, from Dinnington. But it's also informed by any hotspot information that people send through to us, whether it's councillors or whether it's members of the public. They will follow a route, but they will also sidetrack from that route.
Sorry, I'm very sorry, Hillary. We are still,
No.
Hillary, can I remind members that we are in a meeting, okay?
Taking questions.
No.
You shouldn't really be taking questions.
Shut up.
Members of the public aren't I know it sounds rather.
On Quarry Lane, where you get the
That's
Stop
right.
it, please. Contact him direct. Email.
Meeting.
We haven't dragged him in.
You have a right to speak.
Thank you. Right, can I ask you whether the patrols are done in office hours or in the evenings? Because the evenings seem to be more an issue in this area. Today I have actually emailed Street Pride because the dog bins on Anston Greenlands, the dog bins on Ryton Road are overflowing. Also, the bins on Quarry Lane, Anston are overflowing. That's general rubbish bins. I understand from Miles that there is similar issues in Southampton with the fact that these bins are not being emptied on a regular basis. If the bins are full, then people just drop their rubbish.
Any reports in relation to full bins, then please report them through to Street Pride. I'll take on board what you say about the evening patrols, but the guys do shifts from 7 o'clock in the morning through to 7 o'clock in the evening, and we do Saturdays as well. I'll try and temper the patrols so that some of the evening shifts do take place in Anston.
South Road? No, I'm afraid no. Because councillors have rights.
Could I just ask, is this on?
Ladies and gentlemen, it is
Is this on?
consultation, this is a meeting of
What do you do? Could I just ask, Lewis, how to contact you or your department? Has it got to go through Street Pride?
No.
Right. Have you got a direct number?
We have got an email address, which is env.health
Can you write it down?
@rotherham.gov.uk.
Do you object to giving out your email address?
No.
All right.
Give out the email
Well, I've got
address,
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See fit to give it to.
Okay.
We'll respond to the report.
Does your department deal with antisocial behaviour?
In some respects, yes. We do.
Right, we have 2 people here who are really suffering from hooliganism and antisocial behaviour on a car park next to where they live.
Christine, that's the next...
Could you
that's
speak
the next
to them about that, please? Thank you.
Actually, Lewis, it might be worth you staying for the next item on the agenda, because that relates to that, actually. And then if any members of the public have any questions for Lewis, thank you very much for coming.
Can I just ask one quick question?
You probably don't want to inflict the rest of the meeting on yourself, but...
Perhaps we do.
If you want to speak to members of the public, feel free to do so. The clerk could perhaps arrange for you to talk.
Can I just ask a quick question?
Yeah.
Can I just ask a question? How much is RMBC paying this private company? Nothing. Right, so how do they get paid? How do they make their profit?
The way it works, they will get, they'll collect all the fees from the fines that they serve. They will then transfer that money to the council. The council then transfers their payment back, if you like.
So they are being paid?
As a council, we don't pay anything to them. They get all their income from the fines that are served.
So it's in the interest of a private company to run round Rotherham as much as they can, finding the very people that pay the tax money to the council. I find that quite wrong, and morally wrong, because especially on top, I'm not looking at you personally.
Well, if you get
for the last 2 or 3 years, the Borough Council...
Can I ask that we move on?
For the last 2 or 3 years, the Borough Council has made cuts and cuts after cuts, including fly tipping and litter picking, etc.
Point of
What we
order.
have now is we have the cuts, and now
We have a councillor standing on a point of order.
Can we move on to the next item on the agenda, please? Otherwise we'll be here all night.
Thanks, Lewis. Do you want to just hang on for a second?
Lewis,
Take a seat, otherwise we could be... Yeah, you might want to stay. Okay. So now we're on
You want to go and live where those people live, you might change your mind.
10-4. So we might take the presentation at the start. 10-4, discuss/approve a chain of events at Crogate Car Park in the evening, policed by residents. I've been down there, I know a couple of other councillors have been down there, and I'd like to open these discussions. So Miles.
I know there's been a continuing issues down. I've been in the office where our workers have been up there and been unable to work because they've found paraphernalia from all sorts of kind of various things, bits of foil and bad things are happening up there. And I think the police are aware it's a hot spot as well. And I think the least we can do is pay to put a chain up there to be locked at night like we do the rest of the gates in the village, in my opinion.
The proposal that the residents have asked for is that we supply a chain and a code-driven padlock, and that rather than the council, because obviously we've got very restricted funds, but they were actually proposing to organise between the neighbours to organise.
If we can do that, that's even better.
Great, fire away.
Seconded is what I said.
Oh, John was seconding.
Yeah.
He's proposed it, I'll second.
Thank you very much. Clive, Stuart, anyone else want to speak?
No.
Yeah, thanks.
You want to vote?
Clive.
Yeah, can I just say, we've got a similar situation at Greenlands Park when the gates are locked at night there. I think what we also need is some sort of sign saying that this car park will be locked from wherever, then people are aware of when but it's also got to be open the following day, so people have got to remember that's not just a question of locking it at night. So I think you need some sort of notice, like they have at Greenlands, says this park will be locked from whatever PM to AM the following day.
True.
What form that sign takes, I don't know. Have we got it sorted out that a chain is actually okay to position there? Bearing in mind, right, and that will need some sort of fixing, won't it, into the wall at either side?
What's it going to be fixed to?
Sorry, can we just go in?
Sorry, I didn't realise you was pointing at me. Hi, I've forgotten the ladies and gentleman's name. You're probably not going to like what I'm going to say, but I think that these things should be pointed out. First thing is, if there's antisocial behaviour up in that car park, The first point of call...
Could I just stop you there? Councillor Sadler, please, can you remain in your seat?
Yes, certainly, Chair. Yes, I will.
Stuart.
If there's any antisocial behaviour in that car park at any time of the day or night, the first port of call has to be the police. Because it's only the police, although it's our land, it's only the police that can deal with antisocial behaviour. And the more you ring, the more the police should turn up, and then the more notice they will take. I am not going to support
Please don't interrupt. Stuart, carry on.
I am not going to support putting a chain across that entranceway, and I'll give you the reasons why. First thing is, it's a public area, and people have a right to access that area within reason whenever they want. What you're going to do, if somebody who works, say, from 6 o'clock onwards in the morning, wants to take the dog onto that playing field, which they have a right to do, and the gate's locked or the chain's locked, you're preventing a member of the public from using the facility. And on top, excuse me, I'm speaking, please. Excuse me, and on top of that, if council votes to put the chain on, this is my opinion, I would like to see quite clearly who's going to do the task, when it's going to be done. I'd like to see a risk assessment, because we have a problem. While it's probably said that individuals will open and close the chain, open the chain, and I take that in good faith, it has to be done on a proper level, because there's insurance implications. What happens, say for instance, if we say the gate's going to be closed at 7 o'clock at night, or the chain's going to be put on at 7, what happens if there's cars still inside the car park at that time? You can't put the chain on. But I do think if we're going to put a chain on, there has to be some form of formal agreement between parties. Otherwise, I think we're leaving ourselves open for massive, massive problems. And the last thing is, any antisocial behaviour, it must be reported to the police.
So we have Colin and Christine and Paul. Colin, did you want to add anything?
Thank you. All I was going to ask, Mr. Clegg, what's this chain going to be fastened to?
Sorry? There's a wall, a stone wall each side of the opening. All we want to do is stop cars going in.
Yeah, I appreciate that, but there's nothing in the wall at the moment to fasten the chain to then?
No, you'd have to put a hook on. Just a hook each side.
Right, okay.
A ring, like a bull ring, on each side.
Colin, can I just remind you to go through the chair questions to people in the gallery? Otherwise, we end up into those discussions. Christine and Paul, and then Clyde.
The Cleggs have spoken to the police to reply to you, Stuart, but if you have ever tried to contact the police, as most people, you will find it an impossible task. To stick to the point, they have contacted the police. Could the Cleggs just refresh my memory about the sign business? What was it?
The sign business.
You were saying something to me outside about the sign.
Yes.
Could Mr. Councillor Sadler address the questions through you, please?
So, actually, you stood up and you're speaking, so we will ask Mr. Clegg about the signs. This was the case. The police suggested to you that you asked us to put up the sign.
Just to the point, we have reported to the police, I think probably 6 times. They have offered to send patrols around on occasions, and they may well be doing, we haven't seen them. The sign was really suggested for our protection. If we're locking up the car park, we have no authority. So we would need to have some authority, which is given by a sign, but the car park is locked between 6 o'clock at night and 8 o'clock in the morning, whatever the hours you decide are.
Thank you very much.
It's just simple sign, really.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
So I'll take you seconds, Paul, and then John.
I've missed this actual scenario, so I don't know. Am I right in assuming this is the entrance to the football pitch at the top of Crowgate, opposite the big house on as you come over the brow of the hill? I don't think a chain personally would stop people. Judging by what you're saying, I think someone would bolt crop it if they want to get in there. Is there not another better way of perhaps 2 steel posts, 3 steel posts that people can walk through, but you can't get a car through, rather than a chain? A chain can be snapped, easy peasy. All I'm thinking of is if you were to sink 3-4 posts that someone with a pushchair can walk through, possibly a buggy or whatever, but a chain I think would be a waste of money, and the padlock would not be something more permanent, like some concrete posts, some 2 foot, 3 foot in the ground that a car can't remove. I'm just thinking more longer term for you than a chain that someone would jump over if they wanted to. The implications, I can see where Stuart's coming from, because if you were to put that chain across and say, for example, if you were to lock my car, I would bolt crop it personally, because you have no authority to put that across there. It's public land.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
All I'm thinking is, if from other points of view, that something more, if it is cars that's an issue, is to stop the cars. A chain ain't going to stop the cars. You'll get somebody with an old Land Rover, they'll just drive over it or rip it off, and then we've got the post to replace. I'm just thinking something a bit more substantial, should I say, than a chain. 10 minutes.
The problem, Jay, is you can't put posts up because we have undertaken to let those builders go into that car park with their vehicles, and it's also their sales office. So you can't put, posts in the middle.
Ladies and gentlemen, please don't. And what councillor can speak once on the proposal was made. I'm really sorry, but otherwise, we've got a proposal on the table. John, do you want to carry on?
Waste of time.
Ben.
Yeah, just an issue here where it seems to crop up with monotonous regularity, the efficiency or efficacy of our police force. We seem to be having, again, we have to spend money because of the inability of our constabulary to react to it. And perhaps we should be collectively, as a body now, perhaps outlining to the police commissioner our dissatisfaction with the service.
The only problem, Chief.
Council, speak once. It was you'd like to amend your proposal. I'm really sorry, Paul. I know you very rarely speak, but otherwise we'll get into...
Mine was a bit more, just to carry on, if John's Homes is the problem, can't they fund the posts and they can then alter the 2 removable posters they've got access? I'm just thinking.
Yeah, all right. And then we'll go back to that.
I think John's...
No, it's all right.
Right, okay.
It's just that the police, when you do a call to the police, and they ask you what the problem is, they grade them according to its importance. If you chop somebody's head off, you're top of the list. If you go and pick up somebody's wall, you're the bottom of the list. And that's the facts of life, and that's how it works. Yeah, or if you say yes, I can't say what I'd like to say because I'd be subject.
Phil?
Yeah, I do that. It's like... Just
Yes.
They're offering to do a service for the parish council, but knowing, having seen the sort of people that turn up in this car park here, my worry is that if you were to lock that gate, that car park say at 8 o'clock and there are cars in there, and you ask them to move, what is their response going to be? Because I know it could be if they use the sweep down the island. So that's what I'm saying, you need that, but as I say, my concern is your welfare more than anything else, because it's bound to offend if you ask some of these nice gentlemen to remove the car, the response is not likely to be, course I will, no problem. It will be, make us move it, and then we're into a different ballgame. I appreciate all the problems, and I would like to come with a proper answer, but as I said, at the same time I'm worried about your safety, because we have a security company that's come down here that carry out enforcement and have a look and look after the parish grounds. they're slightly different build to yourselves, with no disrespect, but they've got a bit more area of authority. You're going in there from next door and all they're going to say, you know, you probably get a load of reviews and whatever else, and I say, I'm worried about that. My suggestion is that while we're asking security firms down here, we can also ask them to pop up to Southampton. It's 5-10 minutes, just have a look if there's a problem. I mean, if we know there's a certain time of night when this is happening, between like 8 and midnight or whenever, they can disperse at a certain time of night and then go back to wherever they use. I don't know, but if we've got that information, we can perhaps look at tying something in with that as a start, while we perhaps come to a better long-term solution for how we control that car park. What I don't want to do is you to get involved, us to spend money, and it's a waste of time because they simply cropping the chain or whatever, breaking the law. Nobody wins at the end of the day, do they? So I think we need something that's maybe another solution that's more permanent. But it's just trying to get the right balance, you know, get the right things in place. So that would just be my thoughts on where we should maybe go.
Can I just remind can I remind members of what I said earlier on? I've been at this for over a year and a few months now, and it's becoming really quite grinding. And great respect to the previous two chairs who are here, who put up with this for quite a long period of time. But from the sort of gestures that he's making and some of the things that he said across the table, actually Councillor Manship was about to suggest some of the things that you've all just said. Standing orders say that a person, once a proposal has been put, each councillor has the right to speak once and once only, okay? Apart from the original proposer who's got the right of reply at the end and can make a personal explanation. I know there are those of us that don't speak, I'm really sorry for, but there are also members around the table that dominate the discussion and that result in meetings just running on like this. Councillor Manship.
So I'd like to amend my original proposal. I'd like to change it to, I'd like us to, before we go and install a chair, I'd like us to inquire about installing 3, what are they called, those posts? It's not the permanent posts, it's the ones which retracting posts, retractable posts to go in the area. And also...
We're listening at the moment to Councillor Manship, okay? Sorry, he did make a proposal. People weren't listening to he made his first proposal. Right.
And also to inquire about our security staff to go up there to check. They're not allowed to lock, are they, our security staff? They're only allowed to check. I'm right in saying that, aren't they? To check on the area up there as well. And the third part, to inquire how much it would cost extra for our staff to go and lock those poles.
Our staff or the security staff?
Our staff who will lock the current gates at the moment. An extra cost, if that's possible.
Have you got all of that?
The 3 posts. Right, so the first part, to inquire how much it would cost to install poles up there instead of a chain.
Posts, yeah.
To inquire if we would be charged extra or if our current security out of goodwill will go up there and have a look anyway. And also to inquire how much the additional cost would be for some of our staff to lock up there like they do the current gates.
And to bring those back.
And to bring that back to the council for the next meeting.
But your decision is to resolve it.
To resolve those, yeah. They're the 3 parts of the proposal, yeah.
Okay, Alice, you want to
So I've got here, the amendment is to approve a chain or a fence.
Sorry, can I just stop there? Is it amendment or a proposal?
Sorry, that was the proposal. Amendment.
He's making an amendment to his own.
The original proposal.
I do apologise. Can we have the original proposal?
Yeah.
With the amendment on
The original proposal was simply to accept.
The original proposal is according to what's on the agenda at 10.4 to approve a chain or fence at Crowgate car park in the evenings, and then that was amended to inquire if Anston Parish Council security will include that area in their checks. How much would it cost to install posts instead of chains, and the additional cost to council staff to lock and unlock the gate.
Can I say that what you've got there is a proposal with amendments, but the original proposal is to accept, to put the chain on, but the amendment is to inquire over various issues. The amendment negates the first proposal.
If I can negate my own proposal, thank you.
Say again?
I can, if it's
You can amend, the councillor can amend that proposal. I think what you've
No,
made...
what I'm saying is, you've got the right to amend it.
No.
What I'm saying is, the first proposal is to accept it, to put the chain across. But then the amendment is saying that we have to go and get various quotes, etc.
Chair, we've not voted on the first one yet. We've not voted on that. Just withdraw it.
Okay, well, I'll withdraw my original proposal and propose those instead then.
Okay, so that's seconded.
I don't, so I don't
So he's
think,
withdrawn his original proposal, this at the risk of extending the debate.
Yeah.
Miles, would you like to state that proposal for the record?
the new proposal, okay. So I'd like to inquire, for the clerk to inquire about installing 3 posts instead of a chain, and the cost it will be to the council. To inquire if our security, out of goodwill, if it will cost extra, we'll go up there and check that part of the village. And the last bit, what would the additional cost be for our staff to lock those poles? Or, yeah, just
You won't have to lock them, will you?
So, again, I'm sorry to be a bit of a pain, Chairman. Can I just confirm then that we are now not approving to put the chain across? Is that correct?
You've withdrawn it.
He's withdrawn.
That's all. I'm just clarifying it because it's a bit of confusion. When it comes to voting, councillors have to be sure what they're voting for. That's all I'm asking.
The middle part.
So, what I heard was for the clerk to investigate the costs of posts.
Yep.
To investigate the costs of any increased security controls and things like that, and to look into the costs.
Yes.
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 Second that.
Okay, so that's good. So that gets put. Yeah.
All
Okay.
those in favour?
So can I ask the clerk to read the proposal?
The proposal is that the clerk inquire as to the costs to install 3 posts instead of a chain, to ask how much for Anston Parish Council security to police the area, and the additional cost to Anston Parish Council staff to lock and unlock the gates.
And then that would be brought back to the next meeting.
Yeah. Can the chair explain that? I'll ask Mr. and Mrs. Clegg.
Yeah, you can explain your proposal if you wish, and then we'll go to the vote.
Post. Oh, sorry.
I'm sorry. We've had a proposal to move to the vote. That proposal was seconded. The only thing remaining is for Miles to give a point, sort of personal explanation or right of reply.
Just the reason I've done that, it will take a bit longer to do, but however I feel it will be a more effective way for it to fix the problem up there. I know it's during the summer. I did ask the chair permission before.
Thank you. It's proposed.
Oh, actually, no, I know what she meant. I know what she means. Same thing.
Thank you.
She knows it's the same thing.
After all of that,
Locking gates or poles, it's the same.
We're all in agreement anyway.
No. It's got to come back for us to approve. What? I know. Get in.
Okay, next item on the agenda. Ladies and gentlemen, Councillor Sadler, I've asked you about 3 or 4 times now. Please take your seats.
I am loath to do this, but I'm going to ask, or I'll follow the format, that can I propose that Councillor Sadler be asked to leave the meeting? She's constantly disrupted. She's walking about. She's talking with the members of the public. It's not on, and I really can't put up with this anymore. So can I suppose that to members, please?
Please vote yes. Please vote yes.
Does that have a seconder?
It's called being polite to the public, but obviously nobody here appreciates it.
That particular proposal gets immediately put without further discussion, and you can check standing.
Right. Could the clerk record that I am leaving the room and joining the public gallery? Thank you.
It's been seconded.
Yeah,
All those in favour?
I'm here, you're a public servant. And it's
I agree what you said, I can't vote.
She's leaving anyway.
Because I've been voting on that.
Again,
I agree with what you said.
that's carried. I'm sorry, Christine, you have to leave the meeting.
I refuse to leave. I have said, will you record that Councillor Fowler is leaving the meeting and joining public gallery?
Christine,
I
Christine,
am not leaving.
by that particular motion, you're rejected from the meeting because the council believes that you're disrupting.
Well, I'm not going. She was assisting a member of the council.
Oh, sure, Hillary.
Okay.
Difficult, isn't it?
Yeah. Hold the coconut trophy.
A couple of votes.
Keep it short.
Are we starting?
One.
Have you opened the meeting? No, I'm just going to close the colour, that's all.
Go on, Drew. Gavel.
I hope David Dickinson's off, come on.
Okay, ladies and gents, can we start again? And can we try and be at least reasonably well behaved for this next part? Okay, so we have proposals to put 91, 92 and 93 into confidential session. Anybody want to suggest otherwise or...
Can I...
For what reason is it in...
Right,
Would it be...
Can I propose?
Would it be against the public interest?
Yes.
If it became public or... Because that's the main thing in the Act that states is that there's it would be prejudicial to the actual item and against the company's interest, which if there's nobody actually, if it's a contract with a business, fine. But if it's a document, which is going to be open document, there's no reason why it can't be discussed.
So are you suggesting there that 9.1 and 9.3 are, but 9.2 isn't?
9.1,
9.2 and 9.3.
9.2 and 9.3, because there's no exact specifics of anybody involved with it, so it wouldn't be a contract. And it's in the public interest.
No, it's not. No, it's not, because we will be discussing. Right. Can I make a proposal, Chair? My proposal is that item 9.1, 9.2, 9.3 all be placed into confidential session due to the confidential nature and the contractual nature of the items to be discussed.
Comments? Comments? Ben, do you want to speak, or are you...
No,
Anybody else want to speak on that?
Yeah, well, I don't think to it, because you're just approving a document. You're not making a deal with anybody. Nobody's putting any money in. You're approving a document, and anybody who makes a tender will be able to ask you to give them that document. I'm going to try with that.
But the reason, can I just explain why? I've made the proposal, so I'll explain. The reason on item 9.2, we are going to be discussing a tender document that's been presented. But I'm quite sure during them conversations, it's quite possible that contractors of every description may or may not be mentioned and discussed. And I don't think it's in the public interest to be discussing individual contractors in relation to a tender document.
I don't think it will be discussing individual contractors.
Miles? I think I agree with you, especially on 9.3, where I think it's in the public interest in that we should be doing something with there. There's no quote involved or the company suggested it.
Could I ask you to use the microphone?
Well, actually, no, that's what
Yeah, I'd like to endorse both of those comments. The tender document is a document, basically, and when we've approved it, it will go onto the website, presumably, as a standard template for future contracts. There's no mention of sums involved, contractors involved. It is purely a procedural document. And if you go onto the internet, you'll find hundreds of them from various councils throughout the country. Similarly with item 9.3, that has already been proposed by a member of the public anyway, and it's a simple yes or no. Do we go or don't we? Who are we talking about in cash terms, contractual terms, whatever? It's a decision. So I don't think that 9.2 and 9.3 should go into confidential session. I think 9.1 should go to the Assets Committee where we've got more time to discuss it.
Could I suggest that we move to the vote? So there's a proposal on the table for 9.1, 9.2 and 9.3 into confidential session. All those in favour?
I've got a seconder. Can I?
That was seconded by Colin.
Will you second?
Colin, it was you, wasn't it? You seconded it. Yeah. All those in favour?
Is that for all three?
Yeah. The proposal was for all three. Okay, I guess. Paul, well, the proposal, please.
We can't negate a proposal, can we?
Okay.
We can't negate it.
Yeah. Okay, so do you mind? I'm sorry, Stuart. The proposal. I'm the chair. I will explain the process. Okay. 9.1. Okay. I propose that 9.1. So we can't. It's not a case of negating the original proposal. 9.1. I propose that 9.1 goes into confidential session because it's in relation to the lease as a named individual on that lease.
Yeah.
All those in favour? So we'll put that into confidential session. 9.2. Anybody want to propose that goes into confidential session? Three items together.
We'll just go with it. We'll just go with it.
Nobody wants, so we'll go on to 9.2.
Really?
Yep.
Yeah,
You haven't got with this one.
Colin, 9.2. It's your item.
Yeah.
Thank you. Anna has copies for councillors.
I've seen it.
Hey, don't fall down. Get water with it, don't fall down.
I've seen it. I've had this up. Yeah. Yeah.
We've had it.
Yeah, we've had this one. Basically.
Are members of the public allowed?
No.
Okay, Councillor Todd.
Sorry, Chairman, I can't hear for the members of the public in the background.
I do beg your pardon.
Members of the public, Councillor Sadler, you've actually been ejected.
I do beg your pardon. The idea of this document is that for every job that the council wishes to undertake or have undertaken, will now go through a formal process.
Members of the public, Colin is speaking into the microphone. I will not ask again.
Christ.
Carry on, Councillor Tom, please.
And the idea of the document is that the council will go through a formal tendering process for all work that needs to be undertaken. And the reason I put it forward is because, as far as I'm aware, and I have checked, the council does not have a formal tendering process, nor a tender document. And it's quite straightforward. I've taken legal advice. I have searched and searched. I've also put it, prior to publication, I put it through to 2 or 3 people who came back to me and said it conforms to English law as it stands. If anybody wants to make any comments about it, I am quite happy to answer them.
Okay, Stuart Moss first, and then we'll go to John.
Right, there's obviously a lot of work gone into this and thought behind it as well. We do have some form of tender process, although I don't think it's 100% clear. First question, not to answer you, but first question is, if we're proposing to now to go on to tenders, at what level do we start to put tender documents out? Because you have low-cost tenders and high-cost tenders, and you have to fix a figure of where you're going to separate them. First thing is, do we carry on with the work orders that we produce, or are they all going to go out to tender? Just a quick few things.
Can I, before people, sorry to interrupt, please don't reply. So each member, for each proposal, each member has the right to speak once. The original proposer can then summarise that, but please don't enter into discussion here. Joe.
Yeah, just quickly. So on the first page, it's probably been pernickety, right? The parish council is seeking tenders for. If this is the document, that dotted area needs to be a lot bigger, probably 3 or 4 lines, and the contract will be for the 2-year period. Again, that's locking you in to 2 different contracts. That needs to be flexible. That 2-year period. Yes, commencing date, release date. Most of it is just general contract and tender documents anyway. What I was actually looking for, Colin, I haven't got it, is the actual document itself that would go to the contractor for them to sign. That's it.
Okay, Johnny.
Colin, I think it's a really good document, this one. But there could be something else we could put in to make it more fair to any contractor in the village, to have a blind quotation. So when the quotes come in, then when the quotes are read, we don't know who it's from, and if it's the best quote, that person gets it. Then we find out afterwards who gets it. So at least then we can't be any accusations of unfairness or even other people and it will make it quite a fair system, and that's the only thing I was going to say really, if that could be included. So when whoever looks after the quotes
Can I ask councillors to be quiet?
doesn't know who the quote's from. Initially, obviously we'll do when we decide who gets a quote.
Take
And that's
these in
it.
order. The people wanting to speak are Paul, Diane, John and Clyde. And we'll take them in that order. Paul.
Mine was just asking Colin, because I've read it before, a couple of weeks ago. This is just a draft into the moment, it's not, it's the, like Stuart was saying, you have to put a fixed term in there. So do all the contracts last for 2 years? Or is there like a 1-year contract, 6 months, or can they be addendum put into there?
Altered time.
That's what I mean, so this is not the actual, it's not fixed to a 2-year one, is it? The term can be just open, dependent upon the contract and tenure.
Use the microphone.
Finish now.
As for the amount of money, I'm sure somewhere in standing orders there is an amount of money. I can't remember exactly what it is. Perhaps Anna could tell us. I think there are 2 different amounts. One much larger than the other, one a smaller one, and one that actually applies to the spending of the clerk or Siobhan. Can somebody clarify that for me, please?
John. Yeah, well, standing orders, financial standing orders, number 105, makes it quite clear. It talks about different procedures when the contract has an estimated...
Can members of the public please not interrupt?
Right, the figures are, for anything which the clerk has got authority to spend can be spent, which we have agreed that at the beginning. Then anything less than 60,000, more than 60,000, and more than 138,000 should be by public tender. And that's specified that in the standing orders which everybody's agreed to and which you've all got a copy.
Is it you next, Clive? Sorry.
You've been ejected from the meeting.
No, you're councillor.
It doesn't work like that.
No.
True.
Doesn't.
Chairman. Okay.
Well, is that point of order or?
Yeah, I got. Is it me next? Sorry.
sorry.
Right. As I've said before, I've spoken to you before, Colin. Fantastic draft. Is it just a draft then? Because it sounds of what we've been looking at. We can alter this for the period then. So for a document that is fantastic, Kev. Thank you. Fantastic. Well done. Brilliantly. Well done. Thank you.
Thanks, Chair. Can I just support what Colin's done? I've had this looked at, in fact, I contacted the local authority and asked their asset management team if they would have a look at the document. They're quite happy with it. They've come back. They've also said if we want, they have another document, an e-tender facility that we can use. So they have no problem with the document that Colin's put together. Can I just say to people, Colin's put 2 years, but that's variable. You can fix whatever term you want. You can 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. What people not got to be confused with a tender and a quote. Now, tender is a proper specification with everything in it. What Jonathan said about tenders with blind, that's not quite how it works. What you do is, if you go out to tender, you have a list of tenderers, contractors. They're all sent the documents. They come back. The title on the envelope is the job that they're tendering for, but inside is their name on the document. It has to be there. So that's opened by whoever, the clerk, the chairman, and then they decide which is the one that they're looking to accept. So you do have to have a tender list. It's like you do have quotes. If the client goes out for quotes, she'll go to 2 or 3 companies. We've got a list. They come back. They tender on the same amount of work, same specification, and that's how it's done. So, as a document for us to start using in however we want to, it's perfectly okay, and that's the sort of, as I say, the comments that I've made on it. So it's really what we want, how we want to use it at the end of the day.
Yep. Colin, very good.
Fantastic idea.
Philip did make one comment, but you would only be able to obtain that document from the clerk if you were interested in tendering. I know you said we'll go on the website, but you can't. What you don't want is people downloading it from there, because it would have to be issued by the clerk, and then she would have a record of who it's being issued to. Thank you.
Yeah, I'd like to support the comments made around the table on the document, and I think it's a superb piece of work, and it's years overdue, perhaps. One comment which I did hear around the table was that, if I got it right, was that councillors shouldn't see who the contractor is, and making decisions on blind contracts like that should be absolutely, forbidden. Not necessarily are you taking the particular.
Please do not interrupt.
You have to make decisions on who gets contract, not purely based on is it the cheapest. You have to have the efficiency of the contractor borne in mind as well.
Okay, so we've already, anyone who hasn't spoken already? Anyone who hasn't spoken already? Yes. We do need to move on. Yes, Philip.
Can I propose that we accept this as the template for future tenders to be modified as necessary to suit each individual case?
Second. There was already a proposal on the table, but Colin, are you happy to?
Yes, I just wanted to clarify. Stuart, and all those who mentioned, you've got 2 years fixed price for the best. However, my thinking behind that was if you have a 2-year contract, you have a fixed price, you can guarantee your price for a particular contract for 2 years or 3 years. I'll take Councillor, I want to see the point about the breakpoint. My own view is, in terms of discussions, that we should look at the current delegated powers of the clerk, and anything above that breakpoint, we're going to put out for contract for the
Good.
I'm happy to accept Councillor Matthews.
So you're withdrawing your proposal, Colin, accepting Councillor Matthews?
Did you propose that we accept this document?
Yes.
And it was seconded? No, Councillor Matthews proposed it. I thought you had a proposal.
I thought you had a proposal on the table.
No, I never proposed.
No.
Are you proposing that we accept it?
Yes.
I'll second it.
All those in favour?
No, it's... What?
Point 3, to discuss the use of Rackwood Meadow with a view to approaching an events management company.
Propose that we approach a management event company.
Councillor Manship is proposing that we approach an events management company. Councillor Thorpe was there first.
Right, I think for the management of Rackford Meadows, it may well be a good way to go down the route of a management company. However, it's not that simple, because there's other things you have to take into account. Is if you're going to go to a management company, that management company will want a fee. They'll either want an individual fee for each individual event, or they will want some form of yearly fee. There will be a cost. Now, one of the things is we have a price already set for events up on Rackford, and one of the big questions will be is, would their cost eat into our money, or would it have to come out from the events people? So while it may be a good idea in principle to have an events management company, there's a lot of discussion that would need to take place, with lots of talks over contracts, etc.
Okay. Councillor Manship, followed by Councillor Ireland, followed by Councillor Vernon, followed by Councillor Jepson. Anybody else want to speak?
I agree with what Stuart said, however, we won't know until we approach them first. So I think we should vote to approach some approach some management groups to find out what they can do first and how much it will cost, and then we can make a decision afterwards. I think the way this is worded is just so we approach them first to find out what we can get in the first run. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree, because you've got to put it to the companies and ask them what they would require. Then it's up to us to decide whether we go that way or not. You don't buy a dozen eggs from market until you see it priced, do you? Figuratively speaking. Well, just have you proposed that?
Paul? I mean, I agree with what people have said. I agree with what people have said, because obviously we need to get more use out of it than growing some grass. And it's costing a lot of money. I'm not sure at the moment if that is the right way to do it, but we've got to do something different, either to promote the thing or make people aware of what is up there and what can be up there, and we need to look at what can be put in there. Obviously there's different issues with what different events are actually put there, because they will all need different criteria from an health and safety point of view, first aid, access, etc.
Precisely the point of view in a company. But experts.
But at the moment, is there such a need for that at this minute in time, if you know what I mean? For the future, yes, we've got to do something.
Well, I think there's...
Thanks, Chair. I've really put this on the agenda to try and move forward, because we've got 2 events on there, but I think we need to maximise the revenue that we get from Rackford Meadows. What we need is to try and find companies that do this sort of thing, just initially approach them and say, this is what we've got, where it is, what do you think we can do with it within planning restraints, etc., etc. I'm not forgetting that Lewis is sat there from an environmental and community protection position, so we've got to bear all these things in mind. But what I want us to do is take the onus off us and our staff and allow somebody else to look at this, come back to us, and then we decide whether we like it, we don't like it, and where we go from it. If we don't start looking at something, we're losing money. And I hope everybody remembers that next year we're going to lose the last £10,000 of our rate support grant from Rotherham Borough Council, so that's another £10,000 that's disappearing into the ether. So we've got to look to maximise the income from there. So it's really just to set the ball rolling. I don't know whether David Oldroyd might know any companies like that. You never know in his sort of business that he may well have contacts, but it's worth explaining. So it's really just to give the, I mean, I presume it goes down to giving the clerk and possibly the chairman the approval to try and seek somebody out, see if they can, give us some help and information.
Can I take Councillor Bowers, and then is it your right to reply?
I propose we go to vote, just so we can approach them, the council manship, so we can go forward. And then we don't know where we're going to stand until we get some information back. So I'm proposing for council manship to go through to a vote.
If you'd like to save the clerk a job, I'll take on the responsibility of bringing back some options just to see what we can do, not necessarily choose the ones that I find, to see what the availability is out there to the next meeting. So I will bring the information to the next meeting.
So what's the actual proposal?
So,
The resolution was to proceed to move
yeah.
the vote. Can we just have the resolution to approach it, basically to approach management, events management?
Yeah, I will take the responsibility of that. For the,
And council management
yeah.
to take that responsibility.
So just to clarify stuff then, who's going to find out the information, the clerk or Miles?
I will.
Pardon?
No, as many as I can find. Yeah.
Could I suggest that the proposal is that the council approach a management events company with a view to future events, and councillor manship be authorised to seek potential partners.
Okay.
So you got to know one management company.
Yeah.
Already forgotten him. Okay.
Well, I'm trying to make a proposal that, yes, we approach a management company, but we also authorise Miles to speak to the management companies, etc., or investigate on our behalf.
Which, by the way, we voted that we're going to go straight to the vote on the approach to management.
Yes.
Yes.
And my amendment is then, and we authorise Councillor Manship to liaise with events management companies and come back to a future meeting.
Okay.
Yes.
So, that is an amendment to that proposal. Does anybody else have anything else to propose this amendment? Okay.
Second.
We'll go on the room first. All those in favour of the amendment, Councillor Manship, right. Thank you very much, Mr. Karen. And then can we vote on the original proposal?
You don't have to, because the amendment has just carried the original vote.
Aye.
Go for it, Clive. Do it all back.
Okay.
Yeah, this has been on for quite some time now. It's nice to see so many councillors turning up tonight, whether you'll see them again next meeting after tonight's again. I really, as I say, I despair sometimes, and I can quite see why some councillors have chosen not to attend meetings, or they pick and choose which ones they do come to. I think it's unfortunate we've come to this position again, but like we've had tonight, it's quite easy to be deterred by events during the meeting. I'm sure some people have felt like me that if it carried on much longer, then I would have left the meeting, and that's not going to help anybody. But we are where we are. So, as I say, we've only got 2 councillors that are missing tonight. I thank everybody else making the effort to turn up. I hope that we continue to do that, but as I say, we need to get this issue sorted out of these council meetings, because it's totally unhealthy the way things are going at the moment, and I think we need to take a grip of that. I don't have any more to say on that really. If any other members wish to speak on it, that's just my view.
Yeah, I'll just add to these attendance at council meetings. All right, we have a lot of meetings. We have people who work, etc., and other events. But at the end of the day, what's tending to happen around this table is the same councillors turning up for the same meetings, and it's the same few people every time. And as far as I'm concerned, if you've committed to being a member of this council, you should be committing yourself to turn up for the meetings. And if you can't commit yourself to turn up for the meetings, well, that's a point you may want to consider yourself. It's not fair to leave it to the same councillors to come every meeting, come rain or shine, when others are not turning up.
Anyone else want to speak?
I agree to some degree, but if you make the meeting worthwhile and don't have 30 items put over again, then it's not worth coming, because you don't get anything done. There's 30 items tonight not concluded at previous meetings. Now, what encouragement does that give you to come and sit on the council when you're going to sit and listen to nothing?
But if you don't want to come, you should leave then, John.
Did I interrupt the meeting?
Yeah, ask yourself why we don't get through.
Councillor Bannon.
I just want to say one. I mean, unfortunately, I can only speak for myself on this. I work really weird shifts, like up to 8:30 p.m. at night.
That's fair enough.
Sometimes that will pass, and I can't make all the meetings.
You bet,
And then I start at 8 o'clock.
You bring sweets, it's all right, Paul.
I'm going to suspend me. You keep paying your income tax, so that can go on my pension. That's all I do.
Suspend it. With persistent interruptions, members of the public, councillors talking over each other.
I just wanted to say one thing. I mean, the public, you can look at it 2 ways. Is in some respects, councils can't move on because we get interrupted. Now, from the public eye, I understand you will have a point to make. But the problem is a lot of time there is protocol there. Now, if to move it forward from our point of view, if you guys are to adhere to that, I mean, I understand there's certain things you would say yes and you gave it the same yes. I mean, there's nothing more frustrating for myself, that I would want to move things forward. But when we get interrupted, people from the public won't listen, or the barrack, or say their opinions. Now, at the end of the day, to a degree, if that is the case, I think there should be a point made where if it constantly happens, which it does, that the people are banned from, say, 2-3 meetings, rather than just walk.
We're just doing it now, they're doing it now.
Right, ladies and gentlemen, we'll resume.
We can't move forward because we get stopped. We waste, in some people interrupting, we waste 5-10 minutes. We've done it tonight already. This is my time, this is our time. For somebody that all you have to do is listen away. We've not had a chance to ask a question at some stage, then that is the time to do it, rather than keep interjecting and slowing things down. That's my last statement.
Members of the public don't have a right to ask questions here. You can't just stick up your hand. Doesn't work like that.
I do agree with Councillor Vernon on that. Oh, sorry if I shouted a bit loud. I was trying to make myself be heard. Oh, I don't usually mean it like. But I do agree with Councillor Vernon. If I know you're frustrated, we're getting frustrated, and there seems to be an interjection, like as I come talking now, and I know we're getting no forward, we're getting nothing done. I feel personally, when I took this over, they said it's a poison chalice because of the public, and I can understand why people came forward. Tell me that. But I think as councillors, I do agree with Paul. I think we need to be saying, come on, let's be grown up and get on with this. Instead of this constant, well, I'm this or that. It's like a game of tennis or Wimbledon. Let's get on with council business once and for all.
Thank you very much to both of you for saying that. We're constantly interrupted, but also councillors, we took a good 20 minutes this morning to decide whether to move the public questions to the end of the meeting or not. And then we all seem to want to be heard on each and every item. That's why there are 30-odd items backing up here, simply because every councillor feels the need to say something, and actually quite a few councillors feel the need to say a lot on each agenda item, and then often we get to the vote and it's carried by a significant margin. So we've all got some quite similar ideas in some areas, though we're quite split on other decisions. But can we not take 25 minutes to simply decide on whether to move the public session?
Just to come back to the item that was under discussion, was attendance at meetings. Just quick, Paul. The comments weren't aimed at you, because everybody appreciates you work for Barnsley, and they appreciate the fact that you normally turn up late in making the effort to get here. So them comments weren't directed at you. Same with Drew. Drew works a long way, but he manages to get here. I would suggest, I think we've made the point about attendance at meetings. So unless somebody's got a proposal, can I suggest we move on to the next item?
Great, thank you very much. 9.5. So we've had a letter from a gentleman requesting to fly a drone on Rackford Meadows. Proposal or comment? Stuart and Miles.
Right, my comments on this is we've just been talking about income for Rackford Meadows. If I remember rightly, I haven't got a paper with me, if I remember rightly, the gentleman has been handed a paper. What's this for?
This is just to remind you.
All right, yeah, it's all right. Right, the gentleman, I understand, runs a business, flying drones, taking pictures, etc. And he's asking permission to use our Rackford Meadow so he can practice, I think the wording was. Well, I would argue, by all means, you can use our field, but because you're running a business, I would suggest we need to make a small charge.
Can I just clarify that I don't think the request is at all for business purposes. Miles and then Ben. What's the practice with business?
Actually, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, I'm voting against this actually. The flying of, I'm against this. The flying of model aircraft is not without a great deal of risk. And if we give this person individual permission to do it, by default, I would suspect that we'll have a congregation of others flying other types of aircraft and objects from our property. And this, could lead to considerable problems for us in the future. Whilst it is a laudable pastime, perhaps, I don't think that we should, in this case, give individual permission to one person to do it.
Okay, can we go with Diane and then with Paul?
Yeah. Are we on?
Yes.
Pull it up. No, pull it up. No.
Towards
that bit there.
We're there. Okay. There is an area off Woodsets Road which is the model or the plane flying area which is designated for that particular club. I would agree with you that to put a drone over Ratford Meadow where people are exercising their animals, their dogs, leaves a lot of problems for them. It also leaves problems for us. Give one person permission and the rest will follow. How are you going to police that? How are you going to make sure that this one person has got our permission? Who's going to go and check that they've got permission? And who's going to check on the others who've got permission?
Paul?
I was thinking along the lines of Stuart. I can see where it's coming from as regards revenue, but it's not in asking individual. He's going to actually pay us potentially to fly the drone, so it's not giving him just permission to fly the drone. Looking at ways of generating revenue from the field. If he does a bit of dog power and spotting,
You're saying something. That's why I'm laughing at. Can I just have a point of clarification? He'll provide us with, he's offered to provide us with images, but I don't think he's seeking to generate. Jonathan, and then Stuart.
If we decided to charge for him to fly over Ratford Meadows, what would stop him, stood on Ratford Road, flying into our airspace? We don't have control of the airspace, do we? So if a plane flies from Netherthorpe across Ratford Meadows, they're free to do so. So really, if you say yes or no, it doesn't really matter. So it doesn't make any difference.
Doncaster's control zone here anyway, so without question.
Chair, I'm more interested in personal safety. I mean, if a drone drops down on my head, who do I claim off? Him or the council? If the council have given him permission, we must take some responsibility.
I don't know, I think you might think something up there.
I don't want the
Can
drone
I make a
dropping on my
proposal?
head.
I'm going to make a proposal. My proposal is that
Yeah, by the way, there's no proposal on the table.
I'm making one now. Right, my proposal is that we politely decline the request to use the Ratford Meadows for flying drones, and we direct, I don't know his name, we direct the gentleman to the Model Flying Club opposite down Woodsets Road with a view for him to approach them, and they may let him use their field.
Right.
So basically it's to decline the request and point him in the direction of Woodsets.
I second that.
Vote. All those in favour?
No.
To discuss or approve renewal of membership of Rural Action Yorkshire.
Can I propose that for the mighty sum of £35 we renew this subscription?
Seconded. Do you want to speak on it or are you voting?
No, voting.
Okay, brilliant. All those in favour? Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah? Christine, you've been ejected from the meeting. Please don't speak. Okay, we are nearly at 10 past. Members, what would you like to do?
Right.
No, guys, you actually made a decision that members of the public could ask questions at the end, and I think we should move to that. However, I'm now concerned. We agreed that the members of the public could ask questions at the end, and that wouldn't be right not to deny that. But I'm now raising concerns, Chair, that by the time that public session finishes, and we go into confidential session to discuss things, we're going to be struggling for time again.
We'll limit it then. 5 minutes. There's no time limit on the public session.
Yeah. We've got 9:15 yet.
Can I take one more item from here if we've got time? 9 to 7. Does anybody have any pressing concerns on the electoral review or the Rotherham warning arrangements?
Just 30 seconds, Chair. The electoral review's come back 2 weeks. It's now run further 6 weeks, I think, till early September. This was discussed with the council meeting last Wednesday, and we consider what the electoral boundary review.
Please, ladies and gentlemen.
Commission review have come up with, and it's. I think you've had the documents.
Stop it, please.
The documents being sent. The document has come back, and I think it's. I'm not sure it's been circulated to the parish council. But it's there for every councillor to read, and it lists every ward in the borough and what they're proposing to do. I think it's in maybe next year when it comes in, but before the 2020 election. So, as I say, they've met the boundary team have made their suggestions, and then there's another 6-week consultation.
Just coming quickly, just to update members of the public, this boundary commission, in the changing some of the boundaries, but they're also going to move some of the wards are going to move from 3 borough councillors down to 2 borough councillors. I think it's in 16 wards. I'm looking at Clive for confirmation, but Anston is going to retain the 3 ward members. And am I right in thinking that we may be taking in part of Harthill under that? And under the Anston and Woodsets ward, we may well be taking in parts of Thorpe Salvin. But at the end of the day, Anston and Woodsets, there's no massive material change.
Yeah. Seconded? Seconded. Thanks very much. Good. And that's enough debate on that one. It was just an update, nothing highly contentious. All those in favour? Thank you.
Can I suggest that we go into public session now, please?
What I was just about to suggest.
We've got 3 minutes.
Okay, I'd like to suspend the meeting and allow. Yes, we've already had public sessions. If we can keep this to 5 minutes, if possible, please, ladies and gents.
Should we give them the full 20?
The whole 20?
Well,
is that a proposal?
I propose we give the public 20 minutes as stated in our standing orders.
Does that have a second?
Oh, no second?
Yes. Can I move that we proceed to the vote on this one?
Yeah,
And that's seconded. All those in favour of full 20 minutes? Against? Miles, were you for or against? I'm for. Okay, thank you. Get the full 20 minutes? Okay.
We are.
Kevin?
Yeah. Right, we're off.
I want you to tell me, is there a reason why the cake stands outside rather than DIY have only had 6 planks in this year? Only, as I've been driving around villages in surrounding areas, I don't know if any council wants to look, but that's how a cake stand is meant to look. That's a killer mark.
Okay. Thank you very much.
I've asked you a question, I don't expect an answer to this. If I don't get an answer, I will be returning a cake stand to this car park tomorrow morning.
Returning what, sorry?
They're plants, they're plant holders, aren't they, basically?
On the floor, or on the floor, or on the top? Right. And who's, so if I can go through the chair, where is that positioned?
I would rather not get into a discussion, so can I just ask the clerk for clarification? Do we find those, or is it the housing basket? See how we go.
Can I ask Chair where the cake stand is positioned?
I have no idea where the cake stand is.
There is two on Grass Village. And the agreement worked quite a few years ago that the council filled them and we walked in them free of charge even though we were on a water meter. We haven't carried that for I don't know how many years.
Thank you. What we'll do is we will check with our workmen as to
Well,
what
I'd just
plans
like to,
have gone
before
in.
you go, Chair, I'd just like to let you know what conversation I had with your office about this a few weeks ago, and that was that I asked the reason why there were only 6 plants put in, and I was told it was because we were totally out of plants. And that's that's true.
Okay.
So
We will check neither of us.
Rather than you check, if I can borrow a councillor for 5 minutes, I'd like to take him round to the compound. Nice corner.
This is a question I want to know again.
Thank you. We're getting into discussion now.
Parish Council, where ratepayers' money. These plants are stored in there dying, and you are not prepared to send your workforce out to plant the
He's
plants
asking
that
more than one
residents
question.
have paid for.
Thank you, Kevin. I will ask the clerk. The clerk will tackle this tomorrow. Please. Council needs to stay quiet. We will investigate. None of us. Ladies and gentlemen, please.
Don't get this question.
Hang on. We will look in reply.
Point of order, Chairman. Question has been asked and answered.
I've attempted to answer the question. I haven't been heard. So, neither the clerk nor I have looked at this particular planter because we had other things to do.
Do you want to look at the plants that are stored in your backyard?
We will have a look. Can you please let us reply?
Chairman, I'm standing again.
Here we go. Mr. Burgess. What did we say?
Unless Mr. Cavanagh refrains from talking, I'm going to ask him to suspend the meeting and go straight into the confidential session.
No, you're trying to get rid of it. Now.
I'm going to answer the question.
Mr. Cavanagh's continued talking. Is preventing other members of the public from asking a question.
I have one councillor, please, to come with me and have a look at the plants that are stored, please.
Be on deal, go.
So for the record, for the record, sorry Stuart, I'll come back to council in a second, but the question has been asked, I will answer the question so it's on record that we've answered the question. Okay? Either the clerk or I have had a look at this particular planter. Anna's going to look at it tomorrow morning, to see if our ground workers have got any spare plants. I don't think I've not looked in the compound to see if there are any. We're going to see if we've got spare plants and if we could plant on that particular planter. See, that was a very simple answer to a very simple question. Next question, sorry, the gentleman on the end.
Sorry, just before I answer the question, I apologise, I'll come back to right. I'm standing on a point of order. We tonight have just evicted one of the councillors into the public session because that councillor kept getting up off the table. We've just had another councillor get off the table and walk outside without asking permission or buying We can't have one rule for one and one rule for the other.
Note in the minutes. Anna noted in the minutes that councillor left. When he returns, I will mention.
But mine really is a three-point thing, really. First two is just a statement. I live on Crowgate, regarding the bowing, or the playing fields, the change that we talked about. Can I just ask the council to bear in mind that you spend very little money on in Southampton. So when the quotes come in, even the playing field that we're talking about, it only gets, the grass gets cut about once every 2 to 3 months. So that's absolutely disgraceful for our young children to go and play. You know, they're unable to do that. So that's one. You know, that, just bear that in mind when you look at the quotes coming in for the posts, etc. Point 2 is, when you say move the items onto a private session or confidential session, we, the public, have every right to know which company is going to work in our community. We have that right. And you can't stop, as councillors who've been appointed by the public, to stop us from knowing who is working. So that's statement 2. Number 3 is, reading the previous minutes of the meetings, I understand that you're contemplating on bringing the parish newsletter back. I don't know if that's right or not. But we run Your Mag. In the past, we've actually we've offered to put the newsletter in the magazine as a preference.
We've never heard of any of that.
So,
We haven't got to it on the agenda.
I'll leave it here, and if you want to do that, I'll detail it here. So we don't want to. What I would say to you is that we don't need Anston Parish Council putting out the things to live. But I will say that you need the magazine to keep the costs down and to inform the members of the public. And we distribute these free of charge to every door. So we do that. So I'll leave that here.
Just to reply to a couple of those. Thanks. Just to reply to a couple of those points there. I know for anyone who's new to the council and to the public session, there are a lot of ideas that are debated. I don't think that the council is minded to stop anyone from knowing who's working in the village. What I would add is that there have been councillors here, including one who's currently sat in the audience, I'm afraid to say, Christine. You're a councillor who have consistently, consistently voted against spending money on Crowgate and voted against renewing the lease for Crowgate.
What I would say is...
Chair.
Chair. Get your facts right.
Chair.
Give them all the facts, Chairman.
Yeah.
Instead of
Chair.
passing it your way, just to me.
Chair,
or try
would you like me to report on going and looking at the plants? There's at least 50 begonias, trailing petunias, all laid out at the floor on the back of the yard.
So we've got at least 50 begonias.
What I can see, there's another lot further down. I can't see that.
Okay, the clerk has already instructed the senior administrator to plan of that. So
Right. I suggest that we use these.
Could I remind you not to leave the council chamber during the debate?
We didn't see it.
The clerk has instructed the senior administrator to arrange for the plants to be planted up. With said 50 begonias.
Mr. Chairman,
I'm sorry, Christine. I'm not psychic. I have no idea why there aren't any begonias in the plant pot. I do apologise.
I'm sorry, the public. We are doing our best. You're a member of the public. You're a public here who are constantly arguing with councillors.
True, I have not said anything tonight, and I've come down to ask a question. I've got my tomatoes to water and everything, and I'm sat down here waiting to ask a question.
I'm sorry, Sandra. I'm absolutely at the end of my tether with this one.
Is the next meeting going to the same? Because I'm not going to waste my time sitting down. Is the next meeting that we won't be able to ask the question? It's totally right. Can you just answer me that?
Have you closed the public session? Have you closed the public session?
You are the people. You are not representative. You are not representative of the people of Anston here. I think the vast majority of people in Anston would be absolutely disgusted at what goes on in this meeting. Absolutely disgusted at the vexatious comments, complaints, vexatious questions that are asked here quite deliberately.
Drew, are we still in the meeting? Drew, because we should be, Maggie.
Yes.
Right,
End of
fine.
public session.
Okay,
Of course.
bye Jonathan.
I'll turn up to meetings and leave early, another one.
Sorted. Sorted.
Yeah. Most of it. I think you did, yeah.
The public session.
But he does.
Item 14, to resolve to exclude the press publicly to the confidential nature of the business to be transacted. Sorry? Yeah, just
Right.
to resolve.
Have we resolved to go into, have you
I've
proposed
just
to
read out
resolve?
the statement. Would you like to propose it?
I will. Did you propose it then?
I've just read it out. Item
Right.
14.
Chairman,
nobody's
can
put a
I
proposal
propose,
in.
Chairman, can I propose that if the public session has ended, that we now go into confidential session, and I can't remember the wording, to discuss item 14, to discuss confidential, matters of confidential nature.
Confidential. That's what we're proposing.
So I'm proposing that we now go into confidential session.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry guys.
Second, Paul, did you have something that you wanted to say? Or
No, second.
We have a card system, 4, 5, 6, with a number on. That person will get it. Question 1 is that person. Question 2, etc. So there's someone that will shout, rather than 2 or 3 people just barricading forward.
Thanks, Paul. Both Miles and I have proposed, it's been on the agenda for a couple of meetings, to take written questions and to have a better system for it. But we just never get to it.
Can I move that the vote be put, Chair?
Okay.